aero bikes. We're all told that they're faster, and our own independent testing and that of other people has also shown that they are faster, typically around 10 to 15 watts over a non-aero frame. But when we tested this, it was on a flat velodrome.
So, what about in the real world on mixed terrain? Will a slightly heavier aero bike be faster than a lightweight climbing bike?
And to test this, the three of us are going to do a race.
Whoa, hang on. We're not doing a race. Last time we did a race, I ended up having to do a red up crit.
Okay, so we're not going to do a race, but we have come to the Chilterns to ride a 7.1 kilometre course. And that contains a nice descent, a bit of flat, and importantly, to test these bikes out properly, a climb.
Which is Aston Hill, and it's 2.8 kilometres at 4.5% average gradient. And we're all going to ride at different wattages, which I think will be really interesting in the results, because it'll give a spectrum of at what point a sort of aero bike starts to give more of an advantage, I think. So that'll be interesting to see. First thing we're going to do is ride the course on a non-aero lightweight climbing bike, and then we're going to aim to average the same power and do the same course again, but on one of these top spec, cutting edge aero beasts that we've all picked.
So, 3, 2, 1, bike.
It's not a race! For this challenge, I've decided to pick this absolute weapon, which is the new Giant Propel Advanced SL0 disc. Now, this is an absolutely top spec bike. It's got full Dura Ace Di2, hydraulic disc brakes, a Dura Ace power meter built into it, sprint shifters, a really awesome integrated mount as well that comes with the bike. I mean, it just ticks all the boxes, and the wheels are tubeless ready out of the box. I'm going to be so much faster than the other two on this.
So the aero disc bike I'm using today is the Scott Foil 20 disc. From the D-shaped seat post to the dropped rear stay, integrated stems into the steerer, aero handlebars, and a fork that has a wider stance. These are all little bits that Scott have done to keep aerodynamics in mind. And Scott are one of the latest brands to use all their technology from their rim brake version and just bolted on a set of discs. And that's with good reason too, because Scott believe that if motor racing cars and bikes use discs for precision braking lap after lap, why shouldn't we in push bike technology too? The version I've got here is the Ultegra version. It comes spec'd with 28C tyres. That will really help me over the broken Chiltern roads today. The Scott Foil to date has around 153 World Tour wins, and I want to add to that tally today by beating those two around this 7K course.
The Orbea Venturi is something of a new breed of aero bikes. Not only is it designed around disc brakes, which were seen as revolutionary, but are now the norm, it's designed around wider tyres. The wider tyres are also aerodynamically significant, but that's not where the aero trickery ends. The hidden seat clamp under here, the aero seat post, and the tubing profiles all help remove anything that could drag in the wind. The bike comes equipped with Shimano Ultegra 8070. That means Di2 and disc brakes. So if you're out in the UK lanes racing your mates, you'll be pleased to hear that these wheels are tubeless compatible as standard, so you can set them up straight away and not have to worry about punctures. It's a little something else that will give you the advantage over your friends.
Go. See you guys later.
Bye, mate.
Wait, have you seen Simon?
Where is he?
He started like 2 minutes before me. I've been here like 10 minutes.
I'm starting to get worried.
I know, yeah. Do you reckon he's all right?
I might go and check on him.
We've done our runs on the climbing bikes, and now we've done our runs on the slightly heavier but more aerodynamic aero bikes. Rupert, how have you got on, man?
I went faster on the Aero
Right.
by a country mile. So it went 30 seconds faster on the aero bike, on the Venturi. the first lap in 15:25 and I did the second lap in 14:55. So normalised power on the first run, 246, and then on the second run, 249.
Yes.
I went 85k on the first bike and
Sargon here.
67k on this bike. I got a bit scared. Oh no.
But interestingly, you brought that back because obviously it's quite a speed difference.
Yeah.
So to gain that time back effectively after the first sector.
And like, I think what it was probably is that long flat after that descent, that massive flat. You can't really pedal because you're spinning out because you're carrying a lot of speed. So you just kind of have to tuck. And I think that was where the difference was made up on the Oro compared to my climbing bike.
Si, how have you gone, man?
So on the Scott Foil, the 20 disc, I managed to get exactly the same time from my first run to the second. So 17:21 for 7.1 Ks.
So why do you think that is? Like, how do you think you've come to that result?
Both runs felt different actually. I mean, between two bikes, it's around just under a kilogram in weight. So there's a bit of difference there. But down the descent, I was flying on this bike. I felt more confident with the discs, the wider tyres, and I hit 88k an hour. And then on the flat, it just felt like, you know, I could maintain pace.
Your data shows, I think, on that bit, you were quicker on the descent and also the flat section. For the same power, you were quicker.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I was only riding to around 200 watts.
Yeah.
So I think my power was 210 for the first and 208 average for the second.
Yeah.
So I tried to get as close as I could. As soon as I came around to the climb, I was going 15k an hour, maybe a bit slower. Aerodynamics doesn't really come into it. It's always there, as you say, and there is a significant weight difference. But it's surprising over the course that they came out exactly the same.
My first run on the non-aero bike, which weighs 6.8 kilograms, I did that in 13 minutes 25 seconds. And then on the aero bike, this beast, I did it in 12:53. So again, about 30 seconds faster. It's more than half a kilo heavier, and I mean 30 seconds faster. Similar to you, about 30 seconds as well. And in terms of power, first run 278 watts. And then the second one was 270 watts.
Your wattage was lower on the second run.
Yeah,
on the aero bike.
Yeah, and I was still 30 seconds faster.
Yeah.
I think like it was just night and day. I think the sensation of riding it. Like on the Giant, on the descent, I was about 5 kilometers an hour faster, like per hour at my top speed. I was like, I hit 78.5, so 10k slower an hour than you. Obviously, I need to work on my descending. Like with the aero bar on this one as well, it just felt so like it was holding the speed. It was like, especially on the back straight. But then this is the weird thing, right? I was quicker on the climb of Aston Hill, only just by like 4 seconds on this than I was on the climbing bike. And I was seated for the whole climb on both bikes.
I think we all were, weren't we?
Yeah.
I stayed in my saddle.
Yeah, just for consistent aerodynamics. But my average speed on the climb was 23k an hour. And at that speed, you think aerodynamics, they say, comes into play at 16k an hour, becomes the dominant force. The aerodynamics must be making such a big difference at that speed. I think it'd be a different story on like a proper steep climb. We'll have to test that another day.
Yeah, not doing that tonight.
So I guess to sort of summarise what we've found, interestingly, like the sort of gains that you make on the flat parts and the descents are clear, like over a non-aero bike. And then you might lose a bit on the climbs, but you're gaining more, it seems, on the descents and the flat section. So I don't know about you guys, but next time I do a lumpy event, this has convinced me. I definitely want to go for an aero option.
It's adding to the enjoyment of the bike ride, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's been raining on and off today. Like that descent on rim brakes, I would have gone a lot slower, for sure.
Well, that's all we've got time for, but I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. And if you have, why not subscribe to the Cycling Weekly channel? But until next time, see you later.
You got any lights? I might just do another.
It's like 50 miles back to London, I think.
You need to get the miles in, yeah.
Right.